The big question, George, is the FAA still in control of this process?
Yeah, so Guy, I think the FAA isn't in control of the process, but they're still a very important part of the process, the most important, I think, part of the regulatory process of getting the airplane back in the air. I think sort of given the international concern around the airplane, it will be key to show the international regulators, the FAA's peers, that the airplane is safe, that the changes Boeing is making are complete and will render a very safe airplane. But I think that if they can't get all of those regulators to get on the same page as them, there is an option here where the FAA renders sort of or opines on what Boeing's doing as being sufficient and gets the airplane back in the air in the U.S. And the airplane flying in the U.S. would begin to put pressure on international regulators to look at the fix as sufficient and allow it back in the airspace.
George, 57 delegates from 31 individual countries are in Texas today. We can't overstate the importance of this meeting. How quickly does Boeing need to get that plane back in the air?
Well, I mean, the longer it's out of the air, the harder, the bigger the challenge is to get it back in the air. The longer it's grounded, Boeing can't make deliveries to customers. Boeing is burning a lot of cash right now building airplanes that they're not delivering. We really think that they can't go past the end of 3Q without changing their production rates, moving them lower, if they don't get this airplane back in the air. So Boeing for sure wants to get the airplane in the air as soon as possible.
George, is there a danger that the Chinese, who were the first to ground the aircraft, decide for trade reasons that they are going to drag their feet? Is that part of what could happen here? The three main Chinese carriers are big operators of this aircraft.
They are. They are. And look, we looked through a scenario analysis on this yesterday. We published on the Bloomberg terminal. And so I actually think the Chinese will be probably the last to agree to allow the MAX to fly in airspace. I think it will be a little bit trade related. I think what you're going to see coming out of this meeting is that the FAA and Boeing have probably already been working together to come up with a fix they think is sufficient. They'll work hard, I think, to sell it to the Europeans. The EASA regulator will be key to getting the rest of the world, I think, to accept the airplane. If they say yes and allow it to fly in Europe, then you'd have the U.S. and Europe flying the airplane, but the Chinese a holdout. So we think they probably will hold out a little bit, but once the airplane's flying in both those major markets, I think it'll be hard for the Chinese to resist. And another thing to think about is Chinese airlines, we think, will grow about 10% next year. And the amount of traffic they take, they probably can't meet those numbers, that 10% growth rate, if they don't allow the MAX to fly in fleets in China again. So China would have to crimp some of their domestic market air traffic growth if they decide they don't want to let the MAX fly there for an extended period of time.